guest in the house today. We're going to be talking to Lee, and we've got a special everything going on with Makerday today. We're going to be talking about building your side hustle using no-code tools. So come with me. Again, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. As you can tell from the background and everything, this is a special, different episode. And from the title, this is the pilot, the soft launch of Makerday that we're going to be partnering with Sako and the Makerverse and all of those things. So we have a special guest today. Lee, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and the good people who you are?
Sure, Doc. Thanks for having me. So yeah, my name's Lee. I go under the name Lee Launches, mostly because it's a way to make myself launch the many ideas that I have. I used to suffer with having many ideas that I never launched. I've been freelancing online for about 10 years. And more recently, I've been building and co-founding LaunchStash, mylaunchstash.com with my amazing co-founder, Edmund Amoye. And we've been doing that over the last, it's almost 6 months now. We've been building LaunchStash, the platform for makers and creators to stash their own tools that they love.
Awesome. Also, too, in the house, listen, a longtime supporter and the man, the genius that started the Makerverse and all of these things. We have Sako that's here coming up, too.
Cool.
Hey, everyone.
My goodness. This is good. By the way, Sako, what time is it there?
11 p.m.
Okay. I know you're working hard, you're grinding all day, and you're here today. Thank you so much for being here tonight. We really do appreciate it. So we were just talking about everything that Lee's doing, the purpose of the show, everything, the purpose of the Makerverse and Makerday. So Lee, could you talk about a little bit what even inspired you to start making LaunchStash? And by the way, this is what we're going to take a look at right here. Tell me a little bit about this. How did you start making this?
So I met Edmund about, I think it was May last year, 2020, shortly into the pandemic. We both found we had a similar idea, and that was for a platform to help makers and creators share products they love, but also get some kind of commission when they share them, and a way to kind of store those products as well. And yeah, so LaunchStash was born. I ended up making a very minimum viable version. I showed it to Edmund. Edmund said it's rubbish. And we ended up pulling that apart and actually rebuilding from the ground up. And that was LaunchStash. We started in February 2021. We did I think it was a 30-day quick launch where we had early users sign up, and from there our early users helped us to shape the features that LaunchStash now has, and that's been an interesting part for the journey for me, is to actually have the users define what we build rather than it be what I have had in my head, which has been previously the case.
That's excellent. And like we said, too, let us know what you think about it if you have more questions. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the process, let you know what I think about the onboarding, what I think about the product itself, and then the overall feel of it, and then give you a grade. Before you get there, too, could you talk about, now you might hear, like when I'm seeing LaunchStash, and there's reasons about this, but originally I'll show you exactly what we were using before we use LaunchStash. So I was using Notion, and then basically I just had links right here. And when people in the chat were asking me, I wanted certain things, I just had my favorite tools, and I would just drop the link right there. So playing devil's advocate, right? You built LaunchStash. Lee, why wouldn't I just use a Notion page and just keep all of my stuff right here? Why would I do that?
Well, exactly that. And I was doing exactly the same thing. So I'd have people say, Lee, how did you make this? Like, for example, Lee, how, when I'm sure with you, Doc, people say, what tools do you use to live stream? I'd have the same thing, and I would give them a Notion page. And the problem with that is sometimes I couldn't find the tool. Sometimes I would want to group the tools into into a project like a stack. So like, for example, for a live stream stack, and with Notion, you'd have to then start again. You'd have to start a new page. Where with Launch Stash, the idea is that you can actually create new stacks based on the tools that you've already stashed very quickly, without having to go find the code again. It's already in there in your Launch Stash profile.
That makes sense. So I'm convinced. But one more thing too, as we go through this, say for instance, first of all, and we'll talk about it. Some people are going to ask. I already know in the chat, people are going to ask about the stack and what you use to build this. Why would this make such a big difference for someone, right? So you were saying making different collections. What do you see? Do you think it could make someone more money, be more efficient in their time? What was the whole reason, the main reason that you wanted to do it?
I think for makers and creators, I think different income streams is what we want, not to be reliant on one income stream. It's something I've tried to add to what I'm doing online. And I think affiliate marketing is a good way to do that. I mean, we sign up for all these tools, and right out of the box, tools like Card, Airtable, Bubble, they give you affiliate codes, right in your dashboard. And so it's really to make use of those and then add them to LaunchDash. And then when somebody shares them, like again, if you share your live stream stack doc and someone signs up for that tool, you would get the commission, some kind of, even if it's just a discount, depending on how that affiliate program or referral program works, you would get some kind of recognition for having shared and promoted that tool. So that's really the thinking behind that. What we're trying to do for makers, maybe they're not going to retire into the sunset. I'm not going to retire into the sunset in my camper with any referral commission. It's to add another income stream and help save money on products that we already use.
Love it. Yeah, no, it's really beneficial. And as you can see, we're going to show the difference between having just a Notion doc, which we used for about a year, and then talking about what it looks like inside. So in the chat too, I already know. And before the show, some people were asking if we can talk more about your tech stack. We're going to do that as well in the second half. And also too, Lee, don't tell me now, but the question has been, some of the makers are saying, well, you know what? Great. Lee's making this, but how is his revenue strategy? If he's doing this for free and people are making money, how's Lee going to get paid? All those things. So I'm going to log in and go through those. But remember, stay tuned because we're going to go through the tech stack and we're going to be talking about long-term different ideas that Lee has and what he's figuring out and going from there. Before I sign in and go through the process, Sako, I don't want to make sure that, listen, you're here, man. You're the man. Anything that you want to ask Lee before I start going through the first portion, the onboarding of his app and everything like that?
Yeah, sure. First of all, Lee, it's a pleasure connecting with you. I've known Edmund since last year. Yeah, he's a legend as well in the community. So it's a pleasure getting to. I've heard about LaunchDash, so it's actually I'm approaching this not just as from a hosting kind of standpoint, looking at the show, but also from a user standpoint. I'd love to see how you guys put this together. I think looking at it purely from a financial standpoint is a disservice to the platform. I think it's actually the real purpose of it is to build better relationships with these products. If we frame it in that way, I think there's a higher purpose. Money is not a big enough motivator, let's say, for me personally. But if there were ways that the platform could figure out, okay, here's why this product is so important, and here's all the different ways we can develop a relationship between you and that product. Now, one of them is money. Revenue is one of them. And that's what makes it such a stash. So I'm sure you guys already thought about this, but I kind of feel like based on what you're saying, I was really looking forward to that.
No, I like that. That's really good. That's a really good point. I think it needs to be more than just about money. It's about recognition that makers, creators are sharing specific products.
Yeah, at the end of the day, Doc, if let's say your show, Doc, let's take Makerday as an example. Makerday is a new product. It's a new streaming service or whatever, let's say. If I'm a big fan of that service, by sharing it, I'm not just getting revenue, I'm actually improving my relationship with your show.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah.
becoming almost like a super fan. Like
Yeah.
think of it as a Patreon for products, except instead of just paying me cash, you're actually helping me in other ways to do this. So I think like a Patreon for products is kind of the first thing that came to my mind when I thought of it. You know, you go on YouTube, and like everyone now pretty much is like convincing their community that, hey, if you go to my Patreon, you'll also get exclusive content, you'll also get this other thing. But it's not really product oriented, it's more person oriented, right? It's about the person and their personal YouTube channel, and they're trying to monetize that. I think this is it safe, do you guys see it that way, that LaunchDash could kind of be like a Patreon but more geared towards the product you want to support rather than the person you want to support? Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, it does make sense. I think you're giving some more insight and giving some potential of where it could go. I think it was definitely given through the motivation. I mean, we had the idea through the motivation of wanting to have a way to share products and create that recognition, whether it was in monetary way or you know, but to act and to give an example, it's a bit like with Product Hunt, the tools on there. Whenever those are on there, it always refers back to Product Hunt, and what we wanted to do was always refer it back to the maker and the creator rather than back to LaunchDash.
Gotcha. I think a good money is definitely a good starting point. What I'm saying is that I don't think it should be the end point. Like the end goal is just like you said, I'm not going to be retiring or buying an island anytime soon.
Yeah. And it's like in my stash, I mean, obviously, because I'm one of the founders, I've created my own stash. In my own stash, I have many tools that don't have referral links, or you know, just because I want to share them, because I love using them, and I think that it needs to be motivated from that tools you use rather than it being about just the usual referral thing of doing it to make money.
Another cool idea would be if you want to onboard companies and convince them to use LaunchDash, or convince a company or convince Doc, hey, Makerday should be on LaunchDash. It could be where the companies could send regular updates to users, say, here's another way that you can actually, you know, another kind of program that we have for you. Instead of these, you know, instead of making it a passive experience where I have to kind of go online, I have to find a deal for that product, but it's more like, if you really believe in this product, every month that company is going to be encouraged to send you more opportunities to build a relationship with them. And I think in that way, LaunchDash could become the relationship hub, essentially, of products. So Product Hunt doesn't feel that way. Product Hunt is more like, it's launched and then, you know, we're moving on now. We've got 100 more products to upvote tomorrow.
And I think that's the difference we see, is that Product Hunt, you go there to find new tools, where LaunchDash is more about finding tools that people are already using and have proven work. It's about that trust, the network effect of trust.
I like that. I like that. And that's actually a really good, I think, segue to show the juxtaposition between the two. So you said it right there. You're constantly, in Soccer, you're saying constantly you getting bombarded when people are launching new things on Product Hunt daily, right? And there's a gamification to that. But let's take a look at LaunchDash of what the point is, going through the onboarding, what you're going to be doing. So first of all, which I noticed right here, when it says sign up with Twitter, I see pros and cons with this. Number one, I think it really works well for the maker space, and especially with like no coders. I was surprised that it was only Twitter. Was there a reason why you chose only the login with Twitter, Lee?
Yeah, it's really a starting point. I think it's a community that Edmund and I both use a lot. It's where, you know, we connected. A lot of the kind of no code makers are on Twitter, but we do plan to add other networks, Google, Facebook, LinkedIn, for sure.
You know what the thing is though, Lee? I think that's pretty ingenious, because you're still, it's still qualifying a very specific niche group, I feel like.
Right, okay.
And I thought that was interesting, because at first I was like, why do they not have Google and sign in with that? But actually, I find that it might annoy some, but I almost feel like it's more exclusive that way, especially starting out right here, where I'm like, There are there's less people, but I know that it's very centralized. I know, Sako, you're on Twitter, Edmund, like there's a huge making community that I feel like that are really supportive. And I've met them all on Twitter. Like they're not in Reddit, they're not on Facebook. Right. I found them all on Twitter. So I thought that was I didn't know if it was by accident or was it thoughtful why you decided to do Twitter only. That's all.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good insight. I do sometimes wonder, do we lose people if they're not on Twitter? But we've had a good number of people signing up and starting to use it. So at least for launching, it's been a good starting point to have just Twitter.
I love it. And that MVP, that's going for that first version, testing it out, and you're getting feedback from the people. I see Micah in here. Micah's crazy, always with AI and Pelterion. He's and he writes the craziest essays about no code. So this is a pretty interesting and eclectic group. You've got Erica over here. This is great. This is great.
Yeah, Erica's if you don't mind doing some cool stuff with her virtual summit, collating her virtual summit tools.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really good. So if you don't mind, I want to try it out. I'm going to see like Preston's stack and looking through this. And if I miss anything or if you say anything, just let me know, Lee. But I'm just trying it out. So
yeah, sure.
I'm right here. I don't see an exact onboarding, like if I'm just coming in, but I've been here for a while. So I didn't know if there was an onboarding that I'm going to be prompted to do my first stash. But right here, this is pretty much like the only action that I can see. Yeah. So I can click here.
So you can stash, but say if you're new, because you've probably already, you have stashed some things, Doc. If you go over to your profile pic in the top right, there's a thing called Quick Start. And this will normally pop up if someone's brand new, and it gives them a quick win. They can start stashing these tools just by selecting them. And these are deliberately collated as tools that we see as some of the more popular ones. You've got Airtable in there, Bubble. And so you just select them and you can quickly stash these and then go and add your codes afterwards. But yeah, this pops up for anyone who's brand new.
I like it.
But yeah, I think we'd like to have more of a more thorough onboarding process, walking people through what they can do.
Well, I like even from the beginning you were saying you've added the quick start. I like that. Yeah, I'm not sure. Is there usually is it more prominent when it's first there, when they first onboard?
It just pops up after a short amount of time. It's on a primitive counter.
Hey,
if they haven't taken action, then it pops up for them.
Listen, and you're doing this, by the way. All right, I can't wait anymore. I'm just going to give you a preview. They built this all in Bubble, so I will say mad respect for that, because if you've seen anything in Bubble, everything I make in Bubble looks like trash. So you're doing great. This makes sense. So again, you're looking at it, and we have a lot of enthusiasts with Bubble. Lee's the man. So keep that in mind. Okay, so then I'm going to create something new, because this is my essential no code section right here. I can switch over. I have my live streaming stack that I have over here. It shifts over the icons. And the only thing, because I'm dyslexic, but I do see the colors. When I first see this, when I'm seeing stack and stash, I'm getting it confused, because because it's, to me, it's so close. I have to keep looking at it over and over again. If I'm like, is this just a different thing?
Need to do something with that menu. That definitely needs changing. I found the same. I think I'm borderline dyslexic as well, Doc. So you're in good company.
Okay. All right. You feel it.
Yeah. It's amazing what you learn when you use your own tool. You find what works and what doesn't.
No. This makes sense to me, and I like it, because if I'm understanding, stash is just the items. Stack is, I'm just thinking about a tech stack in my head. It's like a stack of books. So I'm making different stacks of books or different columns based on what I need. And then stash is just something very quickly of any product that I'm looking for. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, that's right. So, I mean, if you go to your profile again and click on my stash, you can show everything you've stashed so far. That's your complete.
Yes.
That's your complete repository, as it were, everything, and then Stack is then about building those projects specifically.
Don't worry, I'm coming back. My camera's coming right back. Then that makes sense. That makes sense. Okay, and okay, so let's see about this. In the chat, I'm going to answer a question, and then I'm just going to build one real quick. This was a question that I had. And don't worry, I can see the chat. There's just a few questions, but this one's a little bit off. But Snowgran, I want to build an app with a backend for MySQL database. For some websites, programs to make something like that without coding. Okay, so yeah, so Snowgran, great question. As you're looking at that, that is a huge open-ended question. That's a really good question, but it depends, right? Because if you're just trying to connect that back end, you can use Adalo, you can use Glide apps, you could use something like Bubble. I would say, first of all, what's the functionality you want the user to do? And then also to how proficient are you on one of these? Are you just getting started, no code? Are you right there? Or are you already coming from a coding background? You already like a platform or something like that? Really good question.
Yeah.
Really good question.
Yeah.
Anything else you would add, Sako or Lee? Anything that you would say?
No, I want to dive deeper into the experience.
Let's do it. So I'm going to first make a stack. And what I'm going to say is I'm going to build a stack about productivity. By the way, I'm going to time myself to see how fast I can go through this workflow and everything. So let me do this. Okay, so I'm going to do a stack. I'm going to do productivity. Right. Project URL optional. Okay, that's fine. I'm going to say all my tools I use to be productive at work, something like that, right? So I'm going to say that. I'm thinking create stack because what I'm thinking about is like Notion or something like that. Let's see. Now I want to use a productivity, so I'm going to go with Stash again. But you know what? I'm forgetting if I even have used Notion before or stashed it. So I got to go back to my stash, go back for a second, search. Now this is selfish for me. I wish there was like a search function.
Yes.
Once I'm there,
100%.
to do something. I'm nitpicky though.
No, it does need a search function.
Because if I'm getting so many, then I'm like, I need that. But it looks like I'm surprised. I don't even have Notion on this. Okay. So then I'm going to go back to stacks. Okay. So I'm thinking about, okay, productivity. Let me stack it then. I'm going to say, no, I've already done that.
Yeah.
I have to click that in.
Yeah. You found a little issue already. So that's something we found recently, that if you create a stash and then don't add at least one tool, you can't then go and edit it. That's something we need to add. So so you'll need to create a new stack again.
Oh,
from scratch.
Okay.
So if you do productivity, I mean, I can show you how to delete that one afterwards, but
yeah, no worries.
And then just select at least one tool.
One tool. Now, and this is all me. So this is only my stuff. So this is so what I would have to do beforehand is have that. I'll just do it for softer for right now. But so that's one thing that I'll have to keep in mind. Okay. Not a problem. Okay.
Yeah, so it's only anything that's in your stash at the moment. It's a feature we want to add on that you can. So if you think, okay, I haven't stashed Notion and I want to add it to this stack and stash it at the same time, we're going to add that on so you'll be able to do both without having to go stash first and then stack.
Exactly.
Again, going back to what I said at the beginning, you want to be able to have your stash and easily compile these projects quickly without having to go again and reinvent the wheel each time.
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay. let's go a little bit deeper on that then, right? So I've got that. Now I'm going to say stash again then, right?
So you could so now you've got your productivity, you could click the orange button, plus button that's next to softer, see if there's another tool in there in the drop down.
Gotcha. So let me ask you this. Would the workflow for me possibly be I first fill out as many tools that I'm thinking about to stash first before I stack it all?
Yes. Yeah. Currently, that's what you would need to do.
Okay.
And that's what we've been doing. So we've been building a launch stash stack for tools.
That's interesting.
We've been mirroring stacks by other creators, and we've ended up creating a massive stash and then stacking from there.
That's interesting. So to me, and this is just my perspective as I'm going through this. If I was getting started, I would want some kind of, even if it's a workflow or something like this, best practices. So when I'm on there, then I'm just seeing like, hey, do these things. I guess I could get prompted through it, but even if it was a short video, because like, I don't, Lee, I don't read. So if it was a short video, you're like, hey, do this. Or if it was a workflow that I could easily just say like, hey, are you trying to build a stack? First, load up and write out or bring in as many stashes that you want, then click stack and then build it out like that. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Yeah.
Listen, now I'll tell you what, before I move on a little bit, I'm going to tell you someone that's he's so much better than me with design and everything. Sako, do you have some things before I move on into this section? I know you do. I know you do.
I don't think the visual side is something I really want to touch on, because obviously we all know just the pain that it is to design in Bubble. So I'm not really going to comment on that. But I would say the onboarding experience and the overall value, I think, needs to be a little more clear, so the person understands like why they need to come back. Why do I need to be here? Like after I add softer, like where do we go from here? Like you added this product here. Like, is it just supposed to be a bookmarking tool? Is it supposed to be, like the first thought I got, like if you didn't explain it to me, would be like, okay, I just bookmark my tools here, but it doesn't really do much else. Or you need to be able to flesh out like how the revenue is generated, for example, like how deep does this rabbit hole actually go? Because perception is reality. The first thing that people see is usually what they're going to think this tool is. And I'm having that same issue with my own platform. Like, so that's the joy of building any product, is you have such a clear idea of what you're trying to build in your head and on your screen, but then when you finally see it here, it's like when you talk to other people, you start to hear their perspectives, and you're like, why did they think that? Like, I don't understand. Like, it makes perfect sense.
It's really amazing, because like I said at the beginning, I used to, many of the things I've built previously, I didn't go through the process of validating, asking people, even seeing people use it. And when every time I see someone use LaunchDash, I learn what's missing and what we need to add on. And that's definitely been the process to get us even to where we are now, has been to, Doc will remember right at the beginning when you used to add a tool, you had to manually put the image in, and that was very cumbersome. And it was from seeing people trying to find the image, get the image size correctly. There was too much friction. So, it's really helpful to go through this process and see people using it and finding that they do need an onboarding process, and exactly what you guys are saying, to make that bit clearer.
I think here the part that confuses me is, okay, so we have the products in the middle, and then we have like one button, right? So it's like stash. I like that it's a very clear call to action. So that's why I'm looking at it more from a product design standpoint rather than visually just what color the button is. I don't really want to touch on that. But let's, Doc, just out of curiosity, shout out to another no-code legend, Kieran Ball. That's, it's his first post right there. The very first one is Kieran's post. So let's go ahead and click on that. Like, what do I do with Podia right now? Like, what does that open up for me? It just opens up a link. So that's my point, is I can save this. It right now it is purely bookmarking it. I don't really see any other option for this tool. Like, what do I do with Podia? And that's what leaves the impression that this is bookmarking. I still haven't gotten to the point where we're talking about generating affiliates. I haven't gotten to any of the other promises that you're making about, especially about saving money, right? You're touching that nerve with the user that everyone wants to save money. So you already got me excited about that. I still haven't seen at anywhere on this page where that actually comes into play.
Can I walk you through it?
Please.
I mean, obviously we need to do more on the platform side to make that obvious to the user. But if I walk Doc through it, so if Doc goes through again to his Doc, if you go to your profile and click on My Stash, so then this is what the creator gets. This is your dashboard, and then if you click on it, if Doc clicks on any pencil icon for any tool, he can then, and again that's a tweak that needs, I think. If you go back, Doc, if you just, I think you might, click exactly on the icon. That's a tweak we need to make. But you can see there, you've got the actual name of the tool and the link. That's where you can add your referral link, and where you can add your description about the tool. If you come out of there, Doc, so you can edit any of those tools on your stash and add your link, your referral link. And then again, at the top of the page, you can stash a tool from scratch. So this is stashing, not stacking. Again, you'd put in the product name, step 2, your referral link or product URL, and then the description. And then you would stash that tool, whatever that was.
So like that's a good question, Lee, right there. Like, so where would I get that referral link first of all from? Like, I would go
you would have to go through the tool. Sarko, you suggesting that maybe there could be a walkthrough to show how to get the referral link from a...
I'm saying that it just, even though the experience is simple, you're assuming that it's simple enough where there's no hand-holding required. And I'm saying that what that does is it leaves room for a lot of assumptions.
Yeah, sure.
I would not have thought that, for example, like clicking the edit, like clicking the pencil, actually like takes me to my referral links or anything like that. I would just click on the box. I would assume that clicking on the box would open up my options for that tool, but instead it actually took me to the website. So I think the smarter way to do this would be to convert the pencil into a planet or like into a link icon, and then just have the actual pop-up appear when you click on the actual tool. That's the more intuitive way to do this. And the other thing is like the fact that I have to go and copy the referral link. Maybe the product is not geared towards me, so maybe for your target market, this is going to work really well. I don't really do a lot of referrals and things like that. But if you're trying to convince me, I might be the perfect person for you to talk to right now. It's like, how do I convince Sako to like get on this money, like get on this referral experience, right? This affiliate marketing experience. Well, so far it hasn't done that. It hasn't like said immediately like, hey, you just click here and you're ready to go. Like half the work is done for you. It's more like, here, paste your link. It's like, well, from where? Like, I'm a Webflow user, right? I primarily use Webflow at the moment in the no-code community. So do I have to go and search for like Webflow referral link or affiliate or something and then copy that link and bring it here? And then you're not really telling me that after you paste that link, here's what's going to happen. I don't know why I would do that. So far, I've just seen the bookmarks. I've just seen that I can place the tools here and maybe one day I'll come back to it. But that's going to be very interesting to see, is that after you convince someone to come in, how often do they come back and what reason do they have to come back?
Yeah.
So there's a couple things. So Erica's been really good with that. By the way, what is that? I think that's welcome. Thank you so much for being here. So a couple things. Erica actually just said, yeah, I would love to have a walkthrough video of how to do this, how to go through this. So I'm going to give you the reason I know how to do this is because I buy LTDs all the time. And so I'm constantly, it was second nature. So when Lee showed me this, I was like, oh, I've got to go over there, go get that referral, sign up in their program, bring it back here. That's funny, Sako, that you mentioned right there about walking it through, because that's true. Because a lot of makers, if they're adding another stream of income, a lot of them do not know how the affiliate process works or how to get started. They might just say,
look what Eli just said. He said, oh, the URL is for referrals. I thought it's the URL directing to my projects. I mean, he's on the show watching us explain it. Yeah. And he still thinks it's for his projects, so that's not actually a critique of Eli on Eli's part. It's actually the product itself does not explain that. So it's not about like you have to literally plaster it there and say, this is, there are subtle ways of getting the user through it. Like another way would be a step 1, step 2, step 3 process, where the step 1, like type the name of your app and you enter. It's like step 2. Now go paste the URL in, and by the way, this is how it works, or something like just get me onto the wagon. And then once I'm on, it's gonna be much easier. Something that crossed my mind, Doc, let me know what you think on this, is I think Launchstash would make a lot more sense as a Chrome extension. Like really fast, really efficient. Like it's right there whenever a new referral comes in, notification comes straight through. Like I think the website could serve as more of a hub. Like this is where, like the physical, let's say the stash, if you will. And then the on the road kind of experience would be the extension that I can just add it at any time and see what's actually happening day to day with my referrals. I think just one point as well, I think the main feed needs to serve a higher purpose. You missed the opportunity to show me how much money someone else made, for example. That's the easiest way to get people excited. It's like, here's how much money Erica just made, so I think that would create more engagement too.
So the thing is, first of all, and this is a lot, Lee, all at once, but I hopefully this is helpful. I Definitely. Think so a couple things with that, actually, like exactly what Sako was talking about. So I cannot find it. There's it's a guy, he's from France, I believe. He was trying to make no code Stack Overflow, basically. I'm trying to see, he always does it, like he always does the retro Street Fighter characters on all of his things. The reason that Sako was talking about like a leaderboard or seeing what people are doing, if I'm tying it to savings, yes, I would, even if you can't pull in real-time data, but like Erica can update like, hey, this month I made X amount for affiliates if it can't pull in data. Even that the little ways that I know that she's winning just because she's using affiliates, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm all there for it. Because the same thing is like for the and I apologize, I don't remember the guy's name, but it was the no code Stack Overflow. The way that he gamified it was the more helpful you were on that site, the higher rank that you were. And I didn't even care about answering questions until I heard there was a leaderboard. I was like, I got to win this thing. I was randomly answering questions just because I needed to be top 3. So I think, like you were saying, if it's for makers to have another stream of income and they can see like this is possible, if I could see Erica's making X amount, plus I know that Erica made this many stacks, then you could tell them, but in my head, I'm like, okay, Erica has this many, I have to start adding these things. So now I'm kind of understanding the recipe for success. Maybe I'm still missing some pieces, but I can understand Erica's winning. Erica's stacking this much. I need to be like Erica. What do I need to do to be like Erica? And then I'll try to figure it out. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's see. Oh yeah. So Erica says Lee gave me a personal walkthrough via Twitter, which was very helpful. Okay. Good times. That was awesome. Yeah. I love this community. This is really good. Real quick. I think I'm understanding this as well. Is Eli talking about for Bubble adding React and all those things? Am I understanding that correctly? Let's say, can it add React, JS, Angular? So because there's also a lot of people asking for frameworks, backend, and servers. Do you know, Lee, for Bubble, if it can start adding different components like that? I don't know.
I don't know the answer to that question either, Doc.
Yeah. I've seen it with.
Is that what he's Is that what he's asking?
I think Eli, let me know if I'm understanding that correctly. I'm understanding because I remember, like, if you look at Flutter Flow or Clutch, you can add components like that, so you can add different things. So I'm wondering if that's the level. I could be off. Let us know, Eli. But really good stuff. I really like what you just said there, Sako. I like the what's in it for me and having the feed. What's in it for me right there. Okay, so real quick, we went through the onboarding. We went through also the style and what it looks like, looks and feels, and also too, we're going to look at the grading system of just the whole experience as a whole. The one thing I would say that I do like that you added, that if I look at stacks, this is something that was really good for me. And I'm selfish like this, but when you added the share feature, so I could just easily start sharing that. Before, you were talking about it was like all stacks, I couldn't do it. This one was so quick to be able to share it. And then it got a lot more people involved. In doing this, actually, we got more affiliates just by doing those little things with the sharing icon than anything else. So I thought that was really cool.
Cool.
Lee, one, if I may, a design suggestion would be
sure.
The menus. I've seen most of the interface now. I think maybe another way you could design this is to, which could maybe be easier in Bubble as well, is to have your updates and your activity and your leaderboards and all this kind of stuff on the left as one column.
Yeah.
And on the right side, you automatically see the entire grid of your stash. Like, always keep me in my stash. Never take me away from my stash. So, like the daily activity and stuff could just be in one place, and I could see that actively and keep up with that. And then in the stash button would be more prominent if you had the grid with the tools, and then the first one could be a plus, where you always have the ability to add another one instantly. So when you click on a particular tool, then the grid would essentially just either disappear or slide away, and then you would have that tool, or it could appear as a pop-up. I think, there wasn't much information there. I don't think that you need to actually have a product page. Like, it could just be a pop-up for that particular stash. And then when you share it with the community, also in terms of branding, like when someone shares their own stash, there could be like, the page could have a sense of, like, maybe Doc's profile at the top, or something like a banner, maybe, like to give you that sense of personalization, that this is this person's page, and by the way, because of this stash, here's how much money this person made, here's how many, here's how much time this person saved, and so on, to give me a reason to say, hey, I need my own stash too. Like, that should be your ultimate goal, is to convince everyone that they don't have a stash, and, like, are they living under a rock? Like, you have to have your own stash. So it's not even about convincing them you should make more money. At the end of the day, like, if you can convince me that adding Softer or adding Podia, for example, to my stash is going to change my experience, I think that would be interesting.
That, I like the sound of that. It'd be interesting to see what you think of the actual share pages. I don't know if you're able to share that, Doc. What they look like.
Let's look at it. I didn't see it yet. Let's take a look at that.
Do I need to be in incognito mode to do it, or this is fine? Okay, cool.
That's fine. Yeah. Okay. So it shares it. Obviously, if you'd put an image at the top, so that could be branded to that particular project. If there isn't an image, it just throws in.
Yeah. So right here, the thing that kind of threw me off a little bit is the over branding, right? So you have launch stash 3 times on this page.
Yeah.
3, and then you have one at the bottom again. Like, that's just that's unnecessary. The one at the bottom is completely unnecessary. I think the one at the top as well is unnecessary, because you have the big one over there already. Unless, like, think of it this way, like, if this is where I'm assuming that the top portion would not be there if that person is not logged in, right? You would just see the logo.
We did have an early version actually without the menu in it. Where we were moving towards it, maybe that could be, say, if we move to a subscription model, that, say on a higher tier, you would have an unbranded version maybe. But I agree with you. I think there is it is too over branded. I agree with that.
And also where it says curated by, that curated by could easily be underneath Doc's profile picture, and I think Doc's profile picture needs to be bigger. This is his page, but it feels like the Launch Stash is kind of taking it over.
Yeah.
And also, like, I don't see like his Twitter details and things like that could all be here. Like, you don't have to actually click on his face and go somewhere else. Like, I don't want to waste a click, especially for a product this simple. It really isn't necessary. Like here, could you actually, Doc? I'm really glad you did that. Like when you click on your profile picture, it takes you again to your stash. Like, so it's kind of like it's the same page. And the thing is, the design is actually different. The design on the other page is different from this page. So the consistency is a little broken here. I actually prefer this one right here, like StreamYard, AppSumo, and so on.
The other one is a stack, and this one is just the full stack, all your tools that you've stashed.
Okay,
so that's a project stack, and the image of the above the essential no code, that should be the actual project's logo. But again, maybe we don't need that. Maybe it's just the maker's image.
Yeah, I mean, it's their stash ultimately. So I feel like the project is not even really important. But could you click on Book Like a Boss, Doc?
Yep.
Let's see what happens.
So here, this is my affiliate code, and then it's taking me here.
So this I think is the biggest missed opportunity, is that you didn't in any way display Doc's relationship with this product. And I feel like everything you guys are engineering, everything you're doing needs to be focused on that one thing, is how do we demonstrate what Doc has actually done with this tool? Why is he even using this tool? Other than him saying, I like this tool, like as a comment, what actually happened? If you're not able to do that, this is a glorified bookmarking tool. That's how other people are going to see it as. And for bookmarking, I would much rather just, like, I've been meaning to ask, like, what difference does it make if I really like ConvertKit and I like what Doc shared on Twitter? I would just save it straight to my bookmarks, like in my browser. Like, I would not need to open and sign up and give my email to another service. The reason you're signing me up is because of that relationship, not because of the bookmarking part.
There's two things. Actually, this might be, this is just my suggestion. I'm not saying anything, but what I think, Lee, that you already have the possibility, if this was in the steps and onboarded, because it says step 2, how would you describe it to your friend? What do you love about this stash? If I was prompted, and this is just one case study, I'm not saying you have to use this way. If it says, why are you using it in your business, or why do you love it, or how did this change your business, and this description was down below or associated with this, then it's like, oh, Doc uses this for all of his appointments, and this saves him 6 hours a week doing something like that. It kind of answers what Sako was saying, like the relationship with the company. I already know. You know what I'm saying? Like now it's like, there's no question. Why is he using ConvertKit? Does all of his landing pages, it connects everything. He makes this much money with it. Maybe just having that prompting of when they're stashing it, of what they should be saying in very specific terms, that might be something right there that you could just be using. That's interesting. I would like to get real quick. I would love to say, I'm reading Eli's question, and it's really interesting that this reminds me so much kind of like when Twitch pivoted. I'm not saying you're pivoting, but it's interesting how people view this and why they want to use it. I got to read this one real quick because this is so fascinating to me. So it says, I thought Launch Stash is stacking those tools to present my project and what tools I use. So I was curious if there's an option for React, Angular, etc. Sorry, I didn't get it. That's interesting because that's a totally different use case. I would never have even thought. I'm like, that's really interesting. I don't know if you could use it that way, Lee, but I thought it was interesting.
I mean, if I'm understanding it right, I mean, in a way, it is. You're stacking the tools that you use in a particular project. Again, one of the things that Erica's used Launch Stash for is when Erica does her virtual summits, is to show her community what tools she uses for her summits in a stack. So in that way, yes, it is intended to be used in that way, and that's the purpose of the stacks.
Hey,
But,
tell me more about that. Tell me more about that.
So for example, if somebody said, Doc, what do you use to live stream? Because obviously it's more than just, you don't just use StreamYard, there's a whole process. You set up your stream, you use things like Restream, you repurpose your stream, you use TubeBuddy, to manage your YouTube channel. All of those tools you would put in your live stream stack and say, here you go, here's all these tools. And then when they click on them, and I get Seiko's point about it being bookmarking, but when they click on that stack and they sign up via any of those links, it will be using your referral link. Instead of having your referral links, somewhere in a Notion doc or still in the platform, it's trying to drag them out of those platforms and have a way to organize them so that you can get to them quickly and share them with people when they ask. And I think some of the things we've been talking about, the feedback you've both been giving, would be about making that process easier and being able to find the tools faster as well.
That's excellent. So this is one thing. So I almost think it's just phrasing right here. So like you were talking about the stacks, I love the two different versions. If Eli was saying, I want to showcase my project, he could do the same thing with just adding it to a stack and saying, this is my project, naming the project, and then just adding, he would just go to stash and say, hey, I'm using this product, I'm using this one, and then he would just stack it like that. That's it.
Yeah, exactly.
So if I'm hearing this correctly, Lee, it's almost maybe if I had an onboarding and could just say like, hey, there's tons of different use cases. You could be doing this for another stream of income, doing it this way, or you could be showcasing what you're doing and this is how people use it. And then because both functionalities, it's like you're saying, you're like, it can do both, but clear cut, I think use cases or seeing that, I think that would be awesome. Okay, so we're wrapping this thing up. Thank you so much. By the way, some people are saying, how can I get showcased? First of all, Makerday, this is the soft launch. So some people are asking about this. Guess what? We'll put the email in the chat if you want to showcase or what you're working on and you're trying to get feedback, all those things. We're going to be doing this, remember, monthly. So this is, and by the way, Alicia's been so gracious in doing this for the first time. So thank you so much for being the guinea pig of this experiment. But if you're interested, I'll drop my email in the comment section down below. We're going to have some established platforms, and we're going to have ones that are up and coming and want to showcase their own. Please, this is the point of Makerday and what we're going to be doing. And really, that's why Sako's putting everything together with the Makerverse and everything like this. We're really helping the Maker community and making sure that you're getting the feedback to move with purpose with your project and your platform. So real quick, we went through onboarding, workflow, and overall what we think about the platform. Now, keep in mind, everyone, if you're watching for the first time, and this is our soft opening right here, we're going to be rating LaunchStash 1 to 5 from onboarding, workflow, and overall. Now, remember, 1's going to be like, 5's going to be like, there's nothing. It's perfect. Now, keep in mind, because this is a work in progress, no one's ever going to get a perfect score. This is the whole point of Makerday. You're constantly moving. So I'm going to go through my process and what I rated all the way through. If you don't mind, guys, is that all right?
Let's do it.
And Sako, if you've got something too, if you've been rating yours, you can please feel free. Okay, so I'm going to give onboarding actually a 2.9. Now, the reason I was actually thinking about a 3, the only reason behind it is the assumptions of the type of people that are going to be onboarding onto the platform. I think it's perfect for ones like myself, Erica, but also I know Erica's assuming, and she's constantly getting stuff with affiliates, all those things. I didn't think about anything like Sako was saying. If I'm a maker and I've never done affiliates before, how would they even stack and make money? It would make sense for them to stack and just use the URL, but the point of them making money and making another stream of income, if they don't understand how to get the affiliates or anything on the onboarding, that's something I didn't even consider. So I'm going to give it a 2.9, but I still think that's because it's perfect for a niche audience. It can be more universal, but yeah, a 2.9. Now the workflow, I'm actually going to, for me, I'm going to give it a solid 3. And the reason behind it is, actually my producer, which is my wife, I just told her to sign up and just go stacking stuff, because I wanted to see what her reaction was and what she could and couldn't do. So everything in the stacks and everything, my wife just did. And so she just went through it and started doing that. I think that's pretty good. Without giving her any instruction, she was able to do it. Again, she's already been familiar with signing up for affiliates, but she had no problems. And then she just drops the links when we're in stream or anything like that. And I'm like, hey, I need that live streaming podcast. She just drops everything and she shares. And I like, all right, I'm gonna lie, 3.1, because I like how you changed the sharing functionality, which has been a game changer for us. So I'm gonna give it 3.1.
Cool.
For the overall, I'm looking through this, and for my, so I'm always thinking in my head, what is out there that could be something similar that I would rather use than this product? That's what I'm thinking. And the only thing that I can come up with is just doing a Notion page if I didn't want to go through all this. But I haven't seen a product that delivers or organizes this kind of content. Now, I can't even remember the name. I just remember the icon. I'm thinking of Product Hunt when they did that pancake stacks. But,
oh, yeah. Yeah. The name's gone out of my head as well.
You know what I'm talking
it's
about.
Product Stack, I think.
Is it? Is it Product Stack?
I think.
As I'm thinking about that, it's not doing the same thing. To me, I think it's more your stack.
Your stack. That's it.
So here, I remember doing it because I was really hopped up and I'm like, yeah, I got to be a part of this. Product Hunt's doing this. I just didn't use it because I came to the point I was like, I just don't care about what other people are doing. I need it. What's in it for me? So the closest thing to me was this, but it doesn't even solve the problem what LaunchStash is doing. So to me, that's why I'm giving it that. I'm giving it another solid 3 across the board. I think there's a lot of room for growth, and I think easily when you're doing things, and I'll talk about this in a second. But I'm going to give it a 3. I'm going to give it a 3. What do you think about that assessment, Lee?
I think it's I appreciate that assessment. I think it's a good assessment, and I think the points that you made about, especially someone who, like yourself or Erica, who's used to using affiliate codes, has got that need and knows what to do with them. I think we've got to do more work along the lines of what Sarko said about people that don't do that and give them incentives to do it. We got to do a lot more work around that for sure. A lot more onboarding.
Mm-hmm. It's okay if you want to completely target people who are in your market. That's totally fine. Yeah. Like, for example, for products I've launched before in the past, we decided that Twitter is our target audience. We don't care about any other audience. So it's just sign in with Twitter. Like, that's it. We don't want anyone who's not in that particular community, if you will. But LaunchStash, the way it kind of frames it when you first come in, it makes it feel like anybody can just save money. Anyone can just hop on right now and it works. I don't think that's necessarily the vibe that I get from it. For me, the main issue I have is that the product doesn't address, or maybe doesn't address it as clearly as possible. The value points, it doesn't reflect on those value points immediately and clearly. So I understand, like after everything I saw, I still don't understand how I saved money. Like, maybe that's just my own naivete. Just maybe it's not my market. It's definitely not my market. I don't really do I don't have a lot of experience in the affiliate space, but like, I didn't really get that sense. So for me, I'm still a little unsure what LaunchStash is. So for me, the overall, excuse me, the main issue for me is not necessarily the design or the workflow. I agree with Doc with his assessments. I think if we were judging purely on overall experience, I came in with one expectation. I came out with something totally different. And I think for that reason, I would give it overall somewhere between 1 and a 2. But if we're looking at it from a niche perspective, that this is for affiliates, then I think, yeah, it's a solid 3. And there's always more you can add, commenting systems and all the bells and whistles. But I think the fact that I can just come in and I know what I'm doing here is good. One fun thing to note here is that if you look at your stack, and not just your stack, but there are other apps too, similarly in this space, they all seem to go with the same layout. Like that's why I think I think that's maybe telling. If you want to differentiate yourself from these services, the design wise, I think you guys need to make more of an effort to separate yourself.
Do something different.
Yeah, and I think switching things around, having maybe a feature that isn't very obvious, that is kind of unique to your tool, like whether it's the leaderboards or it's having like a real-time updates showing you. Like I like how we were working here and the recent stashers were just updating in real time. I just wish more was done with that experience. So I think just by fixing a few of these things, you could easily go 3 to 4.
Cool. What do you think of the name?
Launch Stash?
Yeah.
I think it's interesting, but the question is with launch, there are products here that haven't just launched. So it's like, are we targeting just upcoming products? Like Software didn't just launch. Software has been around for a while.
I thought it was me launching. That's what when I heard the title, I thought it was am I launching? Or until Sako said that, I was like, maybe I'm not even now.
Yeah, it's you launching.
Like, I don't know.
What about calling it Pro Stash?
Pro Stash.
Like that.
Why'd you go with that, Sako?
Well, like Product Stash. It's just short for Product Stash. So it's like Pro Stash. And also it's like pro, like professional. It's a professional stash.
It's what the pros use.
I was wondering.
Yeah, it's what the pros use. There you go. That just sounds like a radio bit. That just sounds like a great radio ad right there. That's what the pros use. It's like, what are you doing with your life? Call 1-800 right now.
I might have to have that. That's interesting to me. That's really, really interesting. Yeah, this is good. This is really, and people are saying, love the feedback. A lot of people are saying this is really good, and they like seeing the breakdown and thinking through the process of this. Really good stuff. Love it, love it, love it. So before we go, first of all, in the chat, let us know if you're interested in this. We're going to be announcing that, remember, this was our soft launch. We're going to be doing one where we're showcasing the next one, 3 different makers, going through it and all of those things. But we wanted to start off first with Lee and go from there. So if you're interested, put the comments in my email in the comment section down below. Let me know if you're interested. You're launching something. Let me know. Lee, we also, remember, we're doing the show because it's helping others. But how can the community help you? What would you like out of this? Do you want people to try it out? Let them know. Follow you on Twitter so they can get more feedback. What would you like out of this as well?
Yeah, all of those things. Sign up. We'd love your feedback. Love to see your stacks. If you're able to go through the process of building them and share them with us, especially on Twitter. We've got a Launch Stash Twitter account. We'd love your feedback and we'd love to see how you're using it so that we want to improve. We want to change it. We want to improve Launch Stash and pivot, grow, move, and build what people will use it for rather than what we think they'll use it for.
Love it, love it, love it, love it. No, you're on the right track. Really good. People are saying thank you so much. And also too, like you were saying, the onboarding. Erica keeps talking about how your questions on Twitter helped her to get started more quickly. So I think also, like you were saying, and it was what Sako was saying, leaning into teaching the people, understanding them, having that kind of onboarding process, really going to help them and again, take them to the next level and for them to engage with the platform. So you two, please, Sako and Lee, please stay for a moment. But again, thank you so much for everyone being a part of the soft launch. We're going to be back in September and go from there. And again, thank you so much for everyone's time and attention. Go check out LaunchStash, mylaunchstash.com. And everyone, have a wonderful day. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Cheers.